A shocking murder in the streets of New York City. UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson was walking across the street from his hotel to a meeting at about 6:45 this morning. That's when an armed man with a backpack shot and killed him. The killer then took off on a bicycle. All this happening close by where the annual tree lighting takes place at Rockefeller Center. Tonight, the latest in the manhunt for this killer. Was it a professional hit or a personal grudge? And what is the key to solving this case? I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. An absolutely shocking story coming out of New York City. On the day of the annual tree lighting, a CEO is murdered. His name is Brian Thompson. Works for UnitedHealthcare, huge company, huge corporation, big position, $10 million a year this guy was pulling in. Their corporate headquarters are in Minnesota. He lives in Minnesota, but he was in New York City for a meeting. And he was kind of in charge of the meeting. He's the CEO. And he's walking across the street from his hotel to the Hilton where all this was supposed to happen. And before he could get in there, a man wearing a mask and a backpack shoots and kills him. 6:46 in the morning. Now, it's clear that he was targeted. That part is clear. This wasn't a random New York City attack. This wasn't a robbery. This wasn't some deranged person who's harassing people all over the place and just finds a target. No. He was there waiting for him before it happened. Lying in wait to commit this murder. And the question tonight is, who is he? Who is this guy? They've got a photo of him from surveillance video inside a Starbucks before all of this. Again, lying in wait beforehand. No gloves on his hands. Maybe you get some DNA, maybe you get a fingerprint. I don't know. His face partially covered. You see part of it here. But who is he? And the other question associated with this, of course, is why? Why would you take this man out? Why would you kill him in cold blood? A lot of questions about this murder. Now, surveillance video of the shooting was posted to X by General MC News. I gotta warn you, the video is difficult to watch. This is the crime in action. Let's take a look. There you see Brian Thompson aims the gun. This is the moment that the first shot is fired into his back. Then you see he has a little bit of problem with the gun itself. It jams, but he's able to get control of it, and he fires 2 more times as Brian Thompson is on the ground. Then after he fires, he quickly crosses the street, then gets into a bit of a jog and exits. That was it. All captured on video, folks. The murder captured. I mean, there's surveillance cameras everywhere in New York City. If you're going to commit a crime like this, I think you got to know that. So the NYPD commissioner and the chief of detectives spoke earlier today, providing some details, because as we sit here tonight, this is a manhunt. Let's take a listen.
Good morning, everyone. In midtown Manhattan early this morning, 50-year-old Brian Thompson, the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, was shot and killed in what appears, at this early stage of our investigation, to be a brazen, targeted attack. This does not appear to be a random act of violence. The victim was in New York City to speak at an investor conference. It appears the suspect was lying in wait for several minutes. And as the victim was walking to the conference hotel, the suspect approached from behind and fired several rounds, striking the victim at least once in the back and at least once in the right calf. Many people passed the suspect, but he appeared to wait for his intended target. The suspect fled, first on foot, then on an e-bike, and was last seen in Central Park on Center Drive early this morning. The victim was removed to Roosevelt Hospital, where he was pronounced. We've been in touch with his family, his friends, and his colleagues, and they are very much in our thoughts and prayers at this hour. The full investigative efforts of the New York City Police Department are well underway, and we will not rest until we identify and apprehend the shooter in this case. We have increased the reward in this case to $10,000. I want to be clear. At this time, every indication is that this was a premeditated, pre-planned, targeted attack. Millions of people will be enjoying the tree lighting tonight, among other holiday events, and the NYPD will be out there with them, keeping them safe.
What we know is that the shooter arrived at the location on foot about 5 minutes prior to the victim's arrival. He stands alongside the building line as numerous other people and pedestrians pass him by. From video, we see at 6:44 a.m., the victim is walking alone towards the Hilton after exiting his hotel across the street. We believe the victim was headed to the Hilton Hotel to attend the UnitedHealth Group Investors Conference that was scheduled to start at 8 a.m. The shooter appears to be a light-skinned male. He's wearing a light brown or cream-colored jacket, a black face mask, black and white sneakers, and a very distinctive gray backpack. The shooter steps onto the sidewalk from behind the car. He ignores numerous other pedestrians, approaches the victim from behind, and shoots him in the back. The shooter then walks toward the victim and continues to shoot. It appears that the gun malfunctions as he clears the jam and begins to fire again. The shooter then flees on foot northbound into an alleyway between 54th Street and 55th Street. Once at West 55th Street, the shooter continues to walk westbound on Avenue of the Americas, where he gets onto an electric e-city bike and rides northbound on the Avenue of Americas towards Central Park, where at 6:48 a.m., we have the shooter riding this bike into Central Park at Center Drive. At the scene, we recover 3 live 9mm rounds and 3 discharged 9mm shell casings. The motive for this murder currently is unknown, but based on the evidence we have so far, it does appear that the victim was specifically targeted. But at this point, we do not know why. This does not appear to be a random act of violence.
Do we know where that city bike is now? Does he dock it or does he keep riding it?
We're still tracking video. The last we see with him on that bike is in Central Park.
Is there a way to track that bike?
There are GPSs on those bikes. We'll be working with the company. There's a cell phone recovered in the alleyway, and once again, we will process that forensically and see if it comes back to this shooting.
Okay, there's evidence in this case. Think about the evidence that you just heard about. A cell phone that's found in the alleyway. An e-bike. I mean, the getaway vehicle is an e-bike. You've got to, like, somehow be able to connect that. You've also got what's left at the scene. There were some live rounds that were left at the scene as well because the gun jammed at one moment. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight live in studio, criminal defense attorney, entertainment attorney, former assistant DA in Atlanta, Daryl Cohen. Also with us, criminal defense attorneys Rachel Kaufman and the man behind the glasses, Josh Schiffer.
I got a lot on this one, man.
You do?
This strikes me close to home. This is part of the world that I really find fascinating because this is an incredibly public person in charge of a really important organization.
Big organization.
Hundreds of millions of people interact on mostly a good, but oftentimes a really contentious basis. And what we saw today looks like a professional hit, could easily be thought of as a professional hit, but in my opinion, this is amateur hour. This was not a professional. This was somebody with an axe to grind, and we just need to find out who and why they had that.
Well, let me ask you about who and why. Do you think the who leads to answering the question why, or does the why lead to the question of who did this?
I don't think it matters. It could be either way. I think that, number one, this wasn't just a murder. This was an assassination. And the good thing is it was targeted, so the general public doesn't have to be as concerned that there's a random shooter murderer out there. Having said that, we're going to find, I think, that either he or some member of his family was not treated the way he thought they should have been.
So you think it's someone who was insured by United?
Or wanted to be insured by United. And as a result of that, they didn't get mad, they got even. And the good thing is, if there's anything good about it, is there's so much video evidence, tracking it by video, tracking the e-bike, tracking all of it, we'll find him.
I just think it's really interesting that he lives in Minnesota, he's visiting New York, he's in a hotel, it's 6:45 in the morning, and who knows where he is and what door he's going to be coming out of. I mean, I feel like there has to be some kind, it has to be close enough.
The meeting wasn't scheduled until 8.
But on these big investor day events, this is a company that's owned partially by millions of Americans in their retirement accounts.
It's a public company.
Everybody knows he's showing up for this investment day. If you are a random person trying to find a prominent business leader, it's this kind of event where that's your best opportunity.
You don't know what hotel he's staying at or what
But
time.
it doesn't matter. What matters is you knew what his destination was.
I guess that's
you knew
true.
he was going to the Hilton. And by the way, we did numerous Emmy events there over the years, so I'm very familiar with that Hilton. And knowing where he was going, knowing the main entrance where he would likely enter, probably played a major role.
And no security. He had no security. I want to put this up on the board, though. This is from NBC News. Brian Thompson, the victim in this case, his wife, speaking out. She said there had been some threats. I don't know the details. I just know that he said there were some people that had been threatening him. I can't really give a thoughtful response right now. I just found this out, and I'm trying to console my children.
But that's every CEO of a top 100 company in the nation, even if it is something completely unrelated to personal services or healthcare, something like that. There are people that are just angry at businesses for one reason or another.
Are you surprised that with threats being in New York City that he did not have any sort of security detail?
That's indefensible in my opinion. I have people of far less notoriety and importance. Personal security is something anybody of notoriety needs to really consider when at a place where they can be found.
Completely disagree. If you have security, you are a target that people can see. If you're walking by yourself, you're just one of the minions. So that's the other side of the coin.
He did not appear to be scared walking. I mean, he got
No,
shot.
not at all.
He was shot in the back, and so he was walking down the street like it was, like he was just a typical minion.
But how
Need to
reckless
blend
is
in.
that, knowing that you run a company that has, unfortunately, a reputation. It has the highest number of rejected issues where it comes to coverage. I read up on some of this stuff today. There's clearly a bad customer service result in any company of this size dealing with health issues.
Could it have anything to do with, you know, investors in the company? Could that be a connection? Because there have been some issues surrounding the stock prices and everything else, and this is a meeting in part connected to that. Is that possible?
I think everything is possible. We don't know. It could be an investor who invested and he or his mother or his sister or his family member lost some money. Could have been $500. Could have been $500,000. May not have anything to do with it. What's going to happen? They're going to find the shooter.
Are you surprised that, you know, here we are tonight, the shooter hasn't been found?
That's
No.
very surprising.
No, not at all. When the courthouse killings in Atlanta took place, it took days to find Brian Nichols.
We got a guy on a city bike where there's a GPS. I mean, I want to know where this bike is right now.
In Central Park.
But they didn't say that they actually had the bike. They said they kind of lost it in Central Park. We know that to use
Well, it went through Central Park. There is some video, and this is video outside of Central Park. This is a 6:59 going down the street.
There was a kid on Twitter who apparently scrapes this information as part of some project, and he was sharing the location of this bike that he found using public accessible information. Almost
So they have
instantaneous.
access to all that information, so they could track that. You've got surveillance cameras all around the city. There is not a more high-profile case right now in New York. New York wants this solved ASAP.
Is there a part of America that's under any less scrutiny than downtown Manhattan? More cameras per square mile than probably anywhere else in the nation.
Well, also to use the bike, don't you have to swipe a card? I mean, don't you? I mean, you. So
Doesn't have to be your card.
No, but I mean,
It'd
they
be
can
a
trace that.
borrowed
They can trace
Right.
that too. Plus, there's that cell phone in the
And they
alley.
found a cell phone.
And I think that you're going to find out a informant is going to be the best.
I think you can
available
recognize them from that.
If you know one.
I think they're going to do some IMAX,
Thanks.
but that's also why it's not professional. No professional leaves a cell phone or unspent bullets at the scene.
Exactly.
This is amateur hour, looking kind of professional. Watched a lot of movies.
Yeah, although Michael Corleone did leave it behind. He just dropped it. All right, Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, we're going to bring in a former member of the NYPD to get some insight into all of this. Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, the mysterious disappearance of 30-year-old Hannah Kobayashi, a young woman who missed a connecting flight in L.A., then vanished. Did she just walk away, or is she a victim? We investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson gunned down early Wednesday morning as he appeared to head to an investors conference at the Hilton Hotel in midtown Manhattan. Police say it was a brazen targeted attack. Late Wednesday afternoon, police released these photos of the suspect, taken on security camera just before the shooting. Newly minted New York City Police Department Commissioner Jessica Tisch said the suspect arrived masked and on foot. He allowed other passerbys to continue on before Thompson arrived.
It appears the suspect was lying in wait for several minutes. And as the victim was walking to the conference hotel, the suspect approached from behind and fired several rounds, striking the victim at least once in the back and at least once in the right calf.
According to footage reviewed by the NYPD, the gun appears to jam, and then the shooter quickly fixes it and continues firing at Thompson. He then flees on foot into an alley, then via e-bike into Central Park, just 5 blocks away. Police told reporters they searched Thompson's hotel room and are interviewing coworkers and family members about potential enemies. His wife told NBC News that he had been the target of threats. And the security video had no audio, so police were not able to discern if any words were exchanged during this attack. There was one witness, which NYPD says it is interviewing. In midtown Manhattan, Alex Miller, Scripps News.
Okay, there's also a statement tonight from UnitedHealthcare on the shooting, and here's what they're saying tonight. We are deeply saddened and shocked at the passing of our dear friend and colleague, Brian Thompson, the CEO of UnitedHealthcare. We are working closely with the New York Police Department and ask for your patience and understanding during this difficult time. Our hearts go out to Brian's family and all who were close to him. So joining me right now, retired NYPD officer, became very familiar with crime in Midtown and Central Park. Mike Gould is with us. Mike, thanks so much for joining us. Let me ask you this. What is the more significant part of the investigation right now? Is it the videos, the GPS, the items that were recovered at the scene, the live rounds, the cell phone, or is it taking a look at what was going on in his life and what threats were made, perhaps, to Brian Thompson?
Yeah, Vinny, thanks for having me. So all of the above. There's going to be technology that's going to solve this case. There's going to be, in my mind, and it's still early. I know people are thinking this should have come to a resolution already, but we're only about a little over 12 hours into this. It happened this morning. So there's going to be plenty of evidence. There's going to be plenty of interviews, and the city has a $10,000 reward right now. That's not much. But when it gets up to about $100,000, whether the company puts it up, there's somebody knows this guy, somebody knows he did it, and period. That he's not a lone wolf, so to speak. My speculation, of course, and I'm putting myself out on a limb, is that he's a paid assassin. He was very familiar, maybe not professional, by the choice of doing this. As you said earlier, Midtown Manhattan is blanketed with cameras. You can't walk 5 feet. So the way his familiarity with this gun, you can see he can clear the chamber. He has what we would call a combat stance. He has an escape route. He went continually north. He went a little west. But he went north. So he's familiar with Manhattan. My guess, he's a paid assassin, maybe a gangbanger or something paid for by somebody who doesn't like this, who has a grudge or a disgruntled employee or customer.
What are your thoughts about this phone that they found? To me, that's pretty shocking that they found a phone. Do you think that was left there purposely, or do you think that was a mistake by the killer?
Yeah. So as much credit as we give people in, carrying out these crimes, they make a lot of mistakes. He was actually at a Starbucks before that, so there's probably going to be some DNA they can find where he disposed of some beverages or something. So he made a lot of mistakes, and I think we all forget that we're constantly being videoed. Every step when you go from 14th Street to 59th Street, from the East River to the Hudson River, you're being watched, every one of us. Some of the cameras have facial recognition. Obviously, in this case, this guy's face was covered. But he made a lot of mistakes. He will be caught. I'm thinking relatively soon. And it obviously wasn't, it was intentional, it was premeditated, it was planned. Was his planning that great? Probably not. He's going to be caught, and I think somebody's going to give him up when the reward gets up there and they have a motive to do that.
Yeah, I would. UnitedHealthcare needs to step that up and step it up pretty quickly here. Let me ask you this: take us inside the NYPD, right? So we know the tree lighting is tonight. We know that takes up a lot of resources, but how many bodies work on a case like this on day one? How many people are on this particular case tracking down this killer?
Yeah, so the public relations part of this is tremendous this time of year, Christmas, tourists. Honestly, if this was anybody else, a homicide in New York City is not that eventful, sadly to say. You know, when I was active in the NYPD in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, there were 2,000 homicides a year. It was constant in the subways, on the surface. In comparison now, there's about 500. Or so. So it's down, but it's violent still. But to answer your question, yeah, they're going to throw a lot of resources at this because of the public relations that they need to do to keep touring, because this scares people. I don't think there is a threat to the community at large. This guy did what he had to do, and he's off and running. He thinks he's going to, he's in hiding somewhere, and they're going to capture him soon. NYPD's got this. There's no doubt that they have more investigative tools than any city in the country. So this is going to come to a conclusion rather quickly, and they're all over it.
Are you surprised, Mike, that the CEO of UnitedHealthcare in New York City had zero security with him? I know he's only walking across the street, but this is, going to a big meeting, a public meeting that people would know about.
Yeah, I would have thought he would be escorted with somebody. It doesn't have to be a huge security detail, but just somebody following him would have probably been a buffer. I don't, again, you don't know what's in the mind of this assassin, this killer, but I would think so, especially from Minnesota. I'm sure he's not that familiar with the streets of New York City. However, 6:45 this morning, as you can see, the streets were relatively quiet for New York. This guy, the suspect, ran right in front of a limousine, a town car there. It's like unnoticeable, right? In New York City, somebody running down the street is unnoticeable. But of course, we can say in hindsight that he should have had security. But I can see that it's kind of a 50-50 call. He's going from one hotel to the other hotel. He's not a famous person. I mean, he's not a celebrity. So, yeah, I don't have a strong opinion on that either way, Vinny.
What does your gut tell you? Is this killer in New York City tonight? Is he out of the state? Is he out of the country?
New York City, gangbanger, gang affiliation, I should say, not organized. This was not an organized crime hit. If this was an old-fashioned organized crime hit, it would have been a 22, one shot to the back of his head, and it wouldn't have been, probably in midtown Manhattan. But of course, I talk about this kind of casually. So, but of course, my sympathy goes out to the family. But this is going to be resolved quickly. I think he is not the aggrieved person, I don't think. That's my speculation. That's my gut. And time will tell. Probably within the next 24 hours, we're going to have the answer to all the speculation.
Mike Gould, great to have you on the show. We really appreciate it. Thanks so much. All right, still with us, folks. Our think tank, Daryl Cohen, Rachel Cohen, Josh Schiffer. Let's talk about UnitedHealthcare.
Yeah.
Why are we here tonight? Why haven't they just said, here, just throw $100,000 at it? I mean, it's $10,000 now. Make it $100,000. Why aren't they throwing money at it to find the killer of their CEO?
Save money until you need to spend it. I think if this person's not been arrested, not been apprehended by tomorrow, I think that you're going to find a lot more money flowing from UnitedHealthcare to find the assassin who murdered their CEO.
When he was making $10 million a year, the family could spare $100,000.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen. It's just catching up, because definitely some money will knock loose anybody with information.
I mean, if you look at some of the images, even though it's like halfway down, like if you know that person, you'll recognize that person.
The Starbucks that he visited, Starbucks, that was out immediately after the shooting. They've got better pictures in the Internet of Things. All of the thousands of cameras that he was exposed to. Give NYPD 24, 48 hours to really gather all of that. They're probably going to have some eye matching. There's a bunch of technologies.
At Starbucks, he probably, in order to drink coffee, would have to take down his mask at some point.
Well, we would have seen that picture, right? If they had his picture, they would have revealed it.
It just may not be released yet.
Perhaps.
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Okay.
So if they don't want some of it to get out until they apprehend this person, I would not at all be surprised.
Because if they have an image of his face, is there a way to figure out who that is just based on the face? I think they could attempt to do that.
Absolutely. There's facial reconstruction technologies. You can do a lot of, technical development from very limited information. If they've got a good high res of his eyes, top of his nose, you can do a lot of facial structure based just off that.
Yeah, I'm still surprised. I thought by the time we did the program tonight that there would be an arrest, or they'd be saying, we're looking for this particular person. But we haven't seen that yet.
There may be a reason why they're not doing that. Because they may be there, and they don't want to spook him and get him out of wherever he's
Who thinks
hiding.
this is more than just the killer, that there's more people involved in this plot?
I absolutely,
You do.
I absolutely do. And let me put out one other thing. We are in a very unique time in American history. This is a leader of one of our largest, most important companies in the nation. There are enemies of the United States who the goal isn't to start a war. It's just to disrupt things. It's to cause a panic. If you're an enemy of the nation, if you let's put it in different contexts, assassinating a prominent business leader, suddenly striking fear in all the other business leaders, that's a disruption to our economy. If I'm an enemy of the United States, this is just non-congruent warfare. And it's cheap, just like Mr. Gould was saying. A few $1,000 to a gangbanger.
What you're telling me is that this could be not a personal grudge, but just someone against the system.
It could
disruption of the system, whether it's the corporate system that they don't agree with, or something with the United States.
Or an international bad actor. Or a domestic bad actor trying to cause problems in the healthcare system.
I think it's a young punk whose family member was improperly treated by UnitedHealthcare, and I don't think it was as sophisticated as him working with any sort of larger group. I don't think he's part of a gang. I think.
So you think the person we see is the whole story?
I think that he is much of, if not the entire story. But I will say this, that every CEO will now have his or her bodyguards. So in some ways, that will help the economy with bodyguards.
Yeah.
But no, what's crazy, really quick, you see these vehicles that are right there you see the brake lights going on. There are drivers in these vehicles right next to where this is happening.
They can see this, more witnesses.
I just can't even imagine.
Wow. And that leads to some of the incident. This guy was using subsonic ammo that he wasn't used to. That's why the gun didn't cycle properly. He ended up with a jam, which he knows how to clear, but he obviously hadn't prepared for this hit the way that someone truly a professional would.
It's New York night here on Closing Arguments.